No, you guys are old enough to know by now that money doesn't really come from juggling. But let me do a few tricks, get warmed up, and then we'll talk about where money really does come from. Money usually comes from the W word, and that is work. And a lot of people hear the word work and they go, ew, work? I don't want to work. That sounds hard. But it's only because they don't know what work really is. All work is trading something we have for someone else's money. That's all that work is. At least for me and my family, money really does come from juggling. One Saturday morning, my dad was sitting and he was reading the newspaper, the sports section. And I knew we were going to the grocery store. I'm like, Dad, are we going to go to the grocery store? And my dad said, of course, son, it's Saturday. We always go to the grocery store on Saturday. I'm like, will you buy me cookies? And I almost started to jump up and down. He said, son, hold on. You're old enough now for me to explain where the money goes. He said, you know that families trade their talents, time, muscles, and brains for money. Different families get different amounts of money. There's some families that said, I'm going to use my newspaper. Some families that if money were an amount or size, it would only be a small size. Some families only get a small amount of money. He said, well, we can't spend all this money on cookies. For example, he took a big chunk. He said, this size money goes to pay for our wonderful teachers, our schools, our snow plowing in the winter, street lights, fire department. We get a lot of good stuff, but that's a big chunk of money we can't spend on the fun stuff. So he's going to put that right over there. He said, I'm going to take a chunk over here. He tore up the newspaper again, which my mom was going to be very mad. He said, this chunk goes to pay just in case we ever get sick and have to go to the doctor. He said, this chunk, and he tore off more newspaper. He said, this is for you. And I got all excited because that was a pretty big piece. He said, so you can go to college. I'm like, that's a long time from now. He's like, so you can't spend that money on the fun stuff. He said, there's about, look at that, about half of what's left. He tore up this chunk. He said, this chunk goes to pay for where we live. He said, this chunk over here goes to pay for groceries. That's breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I think we'll be able to buy you cookies next week. See, we're going to keep trading our talents, our time, our muscles, and our brains for money. He said, abracadabra. We're going to go back to work. And next week, he went back to read his newspaper. He said, next week, since we're not going to the movies next week too, we'll buy you cookies next week.